Welcome in, Dween Nation. This is your host, Justin Pies, alongside Janoah. Agudelo, and Week 11 has arrived, ladies and gentlemen. And Week 10, honestly, it was wild. I mean, there were some crazy major performances. I expect the total output of points to maybe come down a little bit, or at least in the running back room, because we don't have a Jonathan Taylor this week, because he is on bye. But man, what a week! What a week Week 10 was, and now we're here in Week 11 to help you with your start and sits decisions. So super excited to dive into all of those, our quarterbacks all the way down, tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, kickers, and our sits as well. But before we dive into all of it, how you doing, Janoah?
Yo, Dween Nation. How's it going, guys? Week 11 is upon us. Starts and sits. Justin, I know you are kind of like in the middle of the pack in some of our leagues. So this is the starts and sits that really matter, not only for us guys, but everybody out there who's watching out there in Dween Nation that needs a victory to make the playoffs. We all have pretty good rosters. It's all about winning at this time of season. Here it is, Justin. Kind of heat check stretch of the fantasy season where it's making or breaking time, Justin. These next 4 weeks are critical. It starts with this week, Week 11. We want to make it to Week 14 and 15 as some of you guys playoff formats could be different. But these starts and sits right here, Justin, is possibly the most important right now at this point of the season because, like I said, you need to get a victories, guys, to make your fantasy playoffs.
You're right. These decisions, man, they can alter whether you are in the playoffs or whether you are not going to make the playoffs. And even if you're on that edge right now, maybe you're 3-6 or 3-7, and it looks dim. But as long as there's not a little E next to your name in the standings, you have a shot. So keep fighting the good fight. And even if you are out, still put your lineup in. Don't be one of those people. But anyways, let's dive into those starts and sits to help you with your decisions and help you with your lineups. We'll start at the quarterback position where I'm going deep in the bag. I'm going as far as I have gone probably all season with my predictions here, and that is that Tua Tagovailoa is the start of the week here. And yes, maybe a couple weeks ago, I think a lot of people would be like, "You're crazy to even think about starting Tua Tagovailoa." But honestly, Tua has been pretty good over the last couple of weeks. And then, obviously, we saw Miami just completely dominate the Buffalo Bills at home. And now this week, it is in Madrid. They play against the Commanders. I just love that it's a super plus matchup. We just saw Jared Goff go for quarterback one, the overall quarterback one last week against the Commanders. I expect Tua to be able to get the ball to Jalen Waddle, which is a little foreshadowing for later in the episode, to get it to Devon Achane. To get it to Malik Washington even. I think he's a sleeper play. I just think with how Miami's cooking right now, I think there might be like a new breath of fresh air for the Dolphins. You know, they decided to keep McDaniel for the rest of the season, kind of give him one last run at it. And I think he's taking it by the reins and doing well so far, so I like Tua this week.
Yeah, I love the matchup, Justin. They're overseas. I think it's an early Sunday morning game, I want to say. I think it's the last international game. And this Washington, this team has lost all faith. And I think that a somewhat healthy Dolphins team can kind of take advantage of it overseas. You've seen this defense get shredded 2 weeks ago by Sam Darnold on Sunday Night Football. And I feel like, last week you saw what Jared Goff, you mentioned, like you saw what he was able to do. So this Commanders team has just lost all their identity. I think it has a lot to do with Jaden Daniels just not playing. I think their defense doesn't really have enough to play for. And I think that they're getting old. This defense in Washington there's a lot of older players on here, and I feel like you're just able to throw all over them. And I think that, with this Miami offense, they're hanging for dear life. You mentioned with McDaniels, he wants to keep his job. So let's go out fighting. And, not to mention Devon Achane is another electric receiving back out of the backfield that he will get you some touchdowns for Tua. You might get a random, touchdown to Malik Washington, who's scored last week. He's gonna be the number 2 guy going forward. So I like it. We'll see what the tight end situation is looking Sunday morning, but I like Tua. I like it. For me, I'm gonna go with Matt Stafford. Justin, I want to say he is 3rd in my MVP rankings right now under Jonathan Taylor and Drake May. At this point of the season, Matt Stafford, he is no doubt a top 15 quarterback of all time now, in my opinion. He has been behind the center of Calvin Johnson historic year and a Cooper Kupp and then a Puka Nacua rookie year. And when Puka's in the lineup now, it seems as he is scoring every game. It's kind of like, Cortland Sutton, the first 5 to 6 games, he was scoring every game with Bo Nix. Here's what we have here in LA where they are possibly one of the best offenses in the NFC. Matt Stafford, like I mentioned before the season started, this could be his last year. So he wants to go out, razzle dazzle, kind of like his best buddy in Clayton Kershaw, winning the World Series with the Dodgers. Similar way, Matt Stafford wants to go out with some fireworks in LA. And so I feel like the rest of the season, he is a must start. I mean, I am starting him maybe over Justin Herbert, maybe a Baker Mayfield, just because his targets are more hurt. But I feel like, Devontae Adams is a little questionable going to this week, and so is Puka. I think both of them do play, but regardless, I just feel like McVay is kind of in his coaching prime where he is calling all kind of plays there. And I feel like Matt Stafford is benefiting. And I just love this matchup this week in a shootout against the Seahawks. Now, mind you, I do love Seattle's defense, but I think this game script at home in LA, it's a divisional round matchup. McVay is going to pull out all the tricks on the Seattle's defense. And I feel like Matt Stafford is going to be able to, if Puka and Devontae play, great, phenomenal. I still think that there are other guys that can, do good. A Whittington, a Tutu Atwell. I mean, someone random for LA will probably blow up for Stafford. But I feel like Stafford is just in his last year, his last go around, but he is on fire, and that's why I have him as starting this week.
I'm glad you're giving him a lot of love in that MVP conversation because this guy is currently at 25 passing touchdowns to 2 interceptions on the season. I mean, he's thrown, 13 touchdowns in the last 3 games. That is just it's crazy numbers he's actually putting up. It's not a ton of yardage, but his fantasy outputs, man, are just it's special. It's been really special. I do think Devontae Adams deserves a lot of credit in there. So if he's not able to suit up, I have a little bit more of worries. I still think he's worth the start, but I really like what he's doing. I think, he has to be in lineups as long as he's playing this hot right now. And I don't care that it is Seattle. Seattle, even though they got some really good players on the defense, they've been beaten before. They're a beatable defense. And even like Jacoby Brissett last week, he had over 20 fantasy points in a game where the Seattle defense, the takeaway of the game is that the Seattle defense just dominated the Cardinals, which they did. But Brissett still was able to put up some points. I think Stafford will be able to do so too. So I really like that start there. We'll move to the running back position here where I got Ashton Genty. And I know that's kind of like, I mean, obviously you're probably starting him. But I think this is such good news. If you are an Ashton Genty manager, you're probably not having the best record right now. I could probably see that you're in that 3-4 win range, maybe worse. Maybe you have 5 wins. Maybe you traded for Genty. But anyways, Genty hasn't had the season we all hoped and dreamed he would. But this week, man, and anyway, his trajectory has gone up for the last couple of weeks. So he's getting more receptions. He got in the end zone last week. He was really like the only guy to do good in fantasy besides the defenses on Thursday Night Football last week. But this week, home against the Cowboys, I mean, you can't ask for a better matchup than that on Monday Night Football in the lights of Allegiant Stadium. And where my mind always goes, Ashton Genty, before he was drafted to the Las Vegas Raiders in that like period between the draft, combine, time frame, Ashton Genty was like, I'd like to play for the Cowboys. Remember that? Do you remember that conversation? He was like,
yeah,
I would love that. That'd be my dream team to play for. Obviously, Dallas didn't really have the opportunity to get him because Vegas jumped on him at 6. So not their fault. But I think this is one of those games where Ashton Genty's like, Cowboys, not in like a negative or revenge type way, but I'm going to show you that value that I bring to this team, the value that I bring to this league. And I think he dominates the Dallas Cowboys and will be the RB1 in the week. Like I can firmly, I just have that gut feeling. I probably will throw it in my bold predictions this week that he will be the RB1. Super confident in him. He has the talent. He's getting the opportunity. Now he has the matchup. All wheels forward for Ashton Genty.
Yeah, Justin, I love it. When you look at what happened last week, they had a tough matchup on the road against the Broncos, but still he was able to get 19 carries, 60 yards, and a touchdown there in a game where Geno Smith, I want to say, had 3 turnovers. And so he was still getting that usage. So I definitely love it. I mean, this is the back half. Like you mentioned, you might be 3-4 having Genty, but this is the back half of the season where he can lead you to the playoffs. This is what makes him a first-round pick next year. This year, I didn't really like him going into the first round, not maybe the end of the second. I was a little skeptical, but now that I've seen it, I think next year he's a top 8 pick in fantasy drafts next year. And I think this is kind of the stretch where he gets the usage. I think Geno Smith being there does affect it. We'll see if he plays. I know he did get hurt at the end of this Broncos game, so I think that has some effect. If he's not in, it looks like maybe Kenny Pickett can get in line. And when Najee Harris was with Kenny Pickett in Pittsburgh, he had some pretty good RB1 games, finishes. So we'll see it. Genty's a better talent, I would say, and he's going to get a lot of usage. He is their first round pick, and Pete Carroll's going to want to unleash his beast mode. He had Marshawn at one point, so I think GT can have a beast mode like game there against the Cowboys on Monday night. For me, I'm gonna go with Jaylen Warren. I just like kind of like what is this depth chart is looking at the moment. We're not really worried about Gainwell. We're not really worried about the rookie Caleb Johnson. And in fact, I was thinking the other day, Justin, whatever happened to Caleb Johnson? I remember in mock drafts he was going in the top 7 rounds as a good RB 2 to 3. But he's a guy that we're looking at other running backs. Scatterbo before he got hurt, we kind of thought that was going to be Caleb Johnson, and now he's not even really getting any touches or any snaps, really. Neither is Gainwell, but I just like this matchup. Obviously, we saw what Jaylen Warren was able to do the last time. I want to say they're playing the Bengals, and they're good. The last time he played the Bengals, he had a really good game against them as well. That was that Thursday matchup. I want to say that was Joe Flacco's debut. The week after. It was the week after because Joe was against Green Bay. My bad. Joe Flacco's was against Green Bay, but the next week he had a great game on Thursday night against the Bengals. So I like this matchup again. I think the Bengals defense is just god awful. I think them having a bye week last week only just makes them worse. They need all the reps they can get. It's a little dysfunctional, and the Steelers have been hitting quite a funk lately. So I feel like Aaron Rodgers knows to win this football game just this week. As of right now, we're going to need to give number 30 a bunch of carries, and I think he's going to get a lot of catches out of the backfield. I'm kind of impressed with Jaylen Warren this year. It's not like he's having a fantastic year, but still 474 rushing yards. He's got 2 touchdowns. He's got 113 carries, which is not bad. He's getting the usage in his team, and the depth chart doesn't really worry me, so I got to believe that the Steelers lean on Jaylen Warren this weekend against the Bengals.
No, I think Jaylen Warren is a perfect pick here for start of the week. He would be my second option behind Genty. Like, you mentioned that game they had earlier this year. It was his best fantasy performance of the season. He got himself over 100 yards, which was the first time he's done that the only time he's done that this season.
Yeah.
He had 8 yards a carry against this Bengals team that is just dead last. They're awful. I don't think this bye week's gonna flip anything with them defensively. They just don't have the personnel on the field to be a good defense at all. So I think Jaylen Warren's going to step right back into what he did in Week 7 against the Bengals, but this time he gets it at home. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers, too, are a team that they lost to Cincinnati on Thursday night back a few weeks ago, and they want their get back here at home. They want to make a statement, and actually I think a crazy stat here is that the Baltimore Ravens, even though they started 1-5, they're on the tails of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe they could the Ravens, if Pittsburgh loses and Baltimore wins this week, Baltimore will take the lead in the division. So, it all happens real quick, and I know Pittsburgh doesn't want that to happen. So I do think that Pittsburgh wins that football game, and it's on the back of Jaylen Warren having a really good performance. It is crazy, though, to see how far of a drop Caleb Johnson has gone. I mean, he was, a 6th or 7th round pick, maybe 8th round pick, and now he's not even used. He's getting 8% of touches. He's getting under 5 snaps a game. That is just it's crazy. It's crazy.
He seems inactive to me, Justin.
Essentially, he is. I mean, you would argue he is. I mean, even Trey Sermon's getting some snaps on this team as the 4th running back, which is nuts. And I'm almost attributing it to Arthur Smith. I don't mean to single him out again, but back in his Atlanta days, he didn't want to use a star rookie running back. I'm not saying Caleb Johnson's a star running back, but you did use a 3rd-round draft capital on him. But it is what it is. Jaylen Warren is playing good football, so he deserves the lead role there. But what are we doing with Gainwell here? But anyways, Jaylen Warren is going to ball out. I love your start of the week. We'll move to the wide receiver position where I have in the same game DK Metcalf. And in the opposite way of Jaylen Warren, last time we saw the Steelers play the Bengals, literally a lot of people played well. DK Metcalf didn't. He had 3 receptions for 50 yards. It was a dud week and a game that was a shootout against Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers. I think this time DK Metcalf gets right. Gets in the end zone. He's had some duds over the last couple of weeks. He hasn't been the guy that people drafted him to be or the guy that he was earlier this year. I think the big thing is we expected Aaron Rodgers to pepper his number 1 target a lot, often, but we haven't seen that from DK this year. And I don't know if it's on the offensive scheme's fault, if it's on Aaron Rodgers, or if DK is just not as good as we thought he was. I think it might be a mix of all three, to be honest with you. But I think as of this week, he hasn't had 2 straight games with 5 points or less. Against Cincinnati this week, I think he's about to go off. I think that you can start him confidently, even though he has been a dud for you the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, Justin. In fact, the last 2 weeks, I contemplated putting DK Metcalf, but we did talk about this. I want to say it was around week 4 or 5, where you mentioned that he doesn't really get that much targets around Aaron Rodgers, and I thought about that for a couple weeks, and so that's why I struggled to kind of be confident. And it's turned out to be true. He has given out some duds, but you know what? Every now and then, Aaron Rodgers has these, star, games at home where he just is the throwback Aaron Rodgers that we all know and love. So I feel like this might be a game for Aaron Rodgers where he does throw up a couple touchdowns to DK Metcalf. I like them. They're at home. It's against Cincinnati. I mean, literally the water boy or Mike Tomlin can score on the Cincinnati defense. I mean, they're just not only not talented, but they're just very dysfunctional. I mean, on the road, I just don't see them ever having a great game. They can't even stop a fourth down against the. I mean, I like the Bears and all, but I mean, this defense is so dysfunctional. Like I said, I think the bye week for Cincinnati makes them worse because it's like they take a step back. It's like rest is gonna, it sweetens them out even more. And I just feel like this week, I think all cylinders. Pittsburgh has been struggling, but I think this is their get back win. These are games that they do not lose in the Mike Tomlin era. So I do like DK. For me, Justin, I'm gonna go with Jalen Waddle. And he, like you mentioned, you have Tua as your starting quarterback of the week. I like Jalen Waddle. We like this matchup there against the Commanders. This first of all, this defense is not scary at all. They're old, they're weak. And with Jaden Daniels not playing, I feel like this team has lost a lot of identity, a lot of their motivation. Their will to win is not really there. I feel like they've gotten lethargic. They're lazy. They're just not the team from last year at all. And I feel like this week, the Dolphins, they need another win. They had an impressive win last week. I think that Mike McDaniels, he's feeling himself going into Spain. He's probably going to hang out with some people, probably has some good food. He's going to tell them, you know what, we're going to feed Jalen Waddle, and he's going to speak Spanish to him. And you know what? Jalen Waddle's going to be the guy. Last week, I like what I saw, 84 yards and a touchdown against the Bills. He's been getting usage. Even, when they got blown out by Baltimore a few weeks ago, he was still getting targets. He had over 80 yards. I want to say it was about 5 or 6 catches. So he's still getting usage even when the Dolphins aren't playing all that well. And I feel bad. I traded him for A.J. Brown. I'm still feeling good about the trade. But, what could have been for me. But I do like the matchup. Overseas, Sunday morning, Tua's going to have the ball out. Jalen Waddle's going to be his guy.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm not even kidding. I was debating at the running back position with starts of the week between Ashton Jeanty and Jalen Warren. And then for wide receivers, I was like DK or Jalen Waddle. So we're pretty aligned here. I really like Jalen Waddle this week. I think it's a great pick here. He has been great for the last month and a half. I mean, double-digit points in 5 of the last 6 games. Miami's offense is not bad by any means. I know Tua is not my favorite quarterback, probably one of my least favorite quarterbacks. And he's a start of the week for me. So with that same logic, Jalen Waddle has to have a good game here. Like against Washington, 30th against the wide receiver position. We saw Amon-Ra have a good game. We saw J-Mo have a good game last week. The week before that, we saw Torrey Horton score. We saw JSN, of course, go off. So down the stretch, the Commanders have just not been good. Marshawn Lattimore's out for the season, so it's like their number one corner's not even there. You're right. It seems like a lost season for the Commanders, unfortunately. And with that, other teams are going to take advantage, and I think Miami will do so with Jalen Waddle, with Devon Achane. But Jalen Waddle will be that guy, and I think he is going to have a really good game. So I like that there for Waddle to have a good game for your start of the week. We'll move to tight end where I have Kyle Pitts. I know, and he hasn't really been like great, and I don't feel great saying him as a start of the week. But he's getting targets. He's still getting opportunities here, and I think for Atlanta, they got embarrassed by the Panthers earlier this year. I think they want to redeem some of those mistakes, and I think Kyle Pitts is going to have a really good performance here. Carolina is a bottom half defense against the tight end position. In fact, they are 24th. We just saw Juwan Johnson have a really good performance against them last week. And so I really like Kyle Pitts this week. Obviously, there's some other names out there that I think are strong plays, but if you have a Tyler Warren, which I know I do in our big 2 leagues, I'm going out for Kyle Pitts just because I think he's obviously very talented, and I think Atlanta is going to have a really good bounce back game here against the Panthers.
Yeah, Justin. I mean, the Panthers have been one of the most inconsistent teams in NFL history. I mean, they go on the road, beat a Green Bay, and then they come home and just, I mean, get slaughtered by the Saints on offense. So, you know what, Justin? I think we get another weird game from Carolina, and the Falcons are another team that were like, their last win is against Buffalo, right? And they go on a 4-game losing streak where you lose to Mac Jones, you lose to Tua at home. Drake may get to 1-point victory, and so they're a wacky team, and so obviously poor Falcons got ran over by JT. But I feel like for Kyle Pitts, I don't know. There's something weird going on with Michael Penix Jr. He's playing not bad, not good, just in between. I know he's getting hit a lot. He did get hit a lot in that Colts game. So it actually, with Pitts, I know we have the joke where we've been upset with him, but honestly, a lot of tight ends, they just underperform. Like, Bowers will blow up occasionally, but he'll have a stinker on the Thursday night. Laporta, he's great game 2 weeks ago, but then this past week only 5 points. Andrews has been okay as of late. McBride has been killing it. But we're really with tight ends, we're not really we're forgiving with Kyle Pitts if I'm trying to say this right. We're forgiving of Kyle Pitts. So you know what, Justin, I'm gonna agree with you. Let's start Kyle Pitts this week at home at Carolina. It's a divisional game. Maybe Penix bounces back. I don't know if he's battling an injury. I'm a little concerned if he can get the ball. He only had 5 targets against the Colts, so I kind of need 7 or 8 targets to Kyle Pitts, and then I'm feeling good about it. But other than that, I'm gonna trust you. I'm gonna go Kyle Pitts. Just like this week, I'm also going with another tight end that I'm not really sure if he can get the targets because his situation is kind of weird. But I'm gonna go with Theo Johnson there. Currently, Jackson Dart is questionable with the concussion. We'll see what goes on throughout the week. And if not, I don't know if I trust it with Russell Wilson. I just think the Giants hate Russell Wilson, and with Daboll gone, I also don't know what to expect from Theo Johnson. But for me, Justin, I'm actually starting Theo Johnson in one of my leagues. I've started Hawkinson all year long. You know what? I'm officially out on Hawkinson. He is hitting the bench, and I'm starting on one Theo Johnson right here. So I had to put him on my starts, Justin. I had to be truthful to Dween Nation. I feel weird about it, but I like the talent in Theo Johnson. I think he is kind of the Giants' only offensive focal point now, Justin. No Scatterboom, no Malik Neighbors. You're even possibly without be with your rookie star quarterback. And so now I just think that if Russell does play, I think he can overload him with targets. I don't know if he gets a touchdown. I don't know if he gets over 100 yards, but I do like a 10-point fantasy game where he's got about, 8 catches for 50 yards, something that's good enough for the tight end position. But if Jackson Dart plays, Justin, I do like Theo Johnson a lot more. In fact, I bump him up into my top 5 tight ends of this week.
Yeah, I think a lot of it does hinge on the quarterback. I'm fully on board if it is Jackson Dart. They've had a really good connection since Dart's become the starter. With Russell Wilson, man, it's a tough thing to get me on board with. It's
against
tough.
The Packers, too.
And the weird thing is the Packers, through the first 7 weeks of the season, the first 6 or 7 weeks of the season, they were really bad against the tight end position, like bottom 5 against the tight end position. But the last 3 weeks, they've only allowed 12 points to the tight end position combined. So they've been locked down over the last few weeks. And if let me look at the matchups here so I can clarify. They played Philadelphia, so they stopped Dallas Goedert. They played Carolina, but Carolina didn't really have a good tight end. And they played Pittsburgh, who has an allotment of tight ends that are all pretty solid. But they've been locked down over the last – I'm surprised they've been locked down over the last few weeks. But over the course of the whole season, they've been bad against the position. They're still bottom half against tight ends. So I think he's a valid start. I don't think he's going to absolutely dud you. I think Russell Wilson will still target him well enough for you to be happy with him, but it does change a lot if it is Dart. I'll be on the bandwagon too.
Yeah,
I'm on the hype train as well. So yeah, monitor that situation, Dween Nation, if you're wanting to start Theo Johnson. But yeah, we'll move to our sits of the week here, guys. We don't want to start. I got to start with Travis Kelce. They're coming off the bye week, which they're historically really good. So I expect them to bring the fire in this game against Denver, even though they're on the road. But Denver's a good defense, man. They're one of the best in the league, and against the tight end position, they're 8th. They stopped a hot Brock Bowers. We saw Brock Bowers go for 3 touchdowns, over 100 yards against Jacksonville. And then the next week we were like, okay, well, Brock Bowers is absolutely back, and he's going to have a phenomenal performance. I know that was me. I was like, he is back. Like, this is Brock Bowers. And he still might be back, but he ran into the Denver Broncos defense and only had 1 reception. So Travis Kelce, in an offense that's more crowded with Rashee Rice, Worthy, Even Juju gets receptions. I think Kelsey is a guy that you want to stay away from this week. I'm not saying he's going to get you absolute donut, but I don't see him getting more than 4 catches in this game.
Yeah, Justin. I mean, it's really tough who to depict who's really going to have a great game for this Chiefs offense. Currently, right now, I kind of think Rashee Rice is their focal point, their main target. He's been back and he gets rushes out of the backfield. He gets catches on key third down situation. Mahomes is looking to him first. Every now and then you'll get a Hollywood Brown touchdown. Every now and then you'll get a Worthy. And you know what? They're gonna give a lot of goal line touches to Kareem Hunt. So I just don't see Travis Kelce. I agree. I don't see him doing much here. They might even throw a touchdown to the backup tight end. I mean, you just never know. And this matchup is I don't like it. At Denver, I'm not saying Mahomes would struggle, but if he does struggle, it's mainly because he couldn't really find Kelce. But nonetheless, I think he has other targets that will eat up into Travis Kelce's work share, and it'll affect him. I don't think he goes over 5 fantasy points. I mean, I don't know. He's losing a step just a little bit. But there's so many other targets on this Chiefs offense to score. So yeah, I agree with you. For me, Justin, I'm gonna go with Jordan Love. And I feel like he has been disappointing these past 2 weeks. He gets a home matchup against the Panthers. Sucks, throws an interception, doesn't even throw a touchdown. And then last week, I don't know what that was. Was it on Monday Night Football where they didn't even score a touchdown? I don't think did they? Or did Josh Jacobs did? But I mean, Jacobs did score the touchdown. But I mean, through the first 3 quarters, Jordan Love was just flat. He made some good plays, but just never could capitalize. It just wasn't the Jordan Love that we saw 3 weeks ago against the Steelers. And ever since then, he's been flat. He'll have a couple good games, but like, for example, week 3 at Cleveland, flat. I'm looking at here, was it at Arizona? It was okay. I mean, they won the game, but it's just, I mean, Carolina, Philadelphia. I mean, come on. These are games that a star quarterback goes off. I mean, a porous Panthers defense, you should at least have 2 touchdowns. And then a Monday night game against the reigning champs. I know their defense is good, but they've been beatable. You can throw with Watson and Dobbs, and you have some targets on your end. Wicks came back. So, I mean, like, come on. You have targets at your disposal that you can move the football with. And he's just been bad. So with Jordan Love, I don't love him this week.
Yeah, I mean, there's one clear reason to me why Jordan Love is struggling, and it's because the team has not figured out how to successfully run the offense without Tucker Kraft. Yeah. Like, since Tucker Kraft left against the Panthers, their offense has just been super shoddy, and the only reason they scored points because they have a talented running back like Josh Jacobs on the field who really manhandled his way for that touchdown he got against Philadelphia. Yeah. I do expect Green Bay to figure it out. I mean, they have talented players there. Christian Watson. I know Romeo Dobbs is injured right now, so we'll have to monitor his injury. He left the game early, so that could have affected some things in game. He left early in that football game against the Eagles. But even like Wicks was getting some receptions. Bo Melton was getting receptions. Even Golden didn't play either. So the Packers receiving room is injured right now. I don't know if Golden's going to play. I don't know if Dobbs is going to play. But I think they will figure it out. I don't know if this is the week to do so, though. I know Caleb Williams played the Giants last week, had a good fantasy performance. But that was because their offense wasn't going anywhere for the first, 2 quarters, and then they had to do, even 3 quarters, and then they had to come back, and Caleb Williams was able to get some fantasy points late in that game. I don't think that's going to happen for Green Bay, though, because I think they're going to be able to run the ball successfully and have the lead over the Giants, which to me will probably be led by Russell Wilson, unfortunately. So, yeah, I agree. I don't think it's going to be a great game from Jordan Love, especially if he's missing, more of his pass catchers like Golden and Dobbs. Already missing Kraft. Temper expectations there, even though it's a good matchup for Jordan Love. We'll move to the kickers of the week, which is my most excited one. I got Hunter Mevis. You call it Cam Dicker. His nickname is Dicker the kicker. Well, Hunter Mevis, his nickname is Thicker the kicker because this boy is thick. He is huge, probably the biggest kicker we've ever seen in the NFL. Like, to put it in perspective, Hunter Mevis is 6 foot, 245 pounds as a kicker, okay? Well, Saints kicker Blake Grupe, small guy, he's 156 pounds. You're telling me this kicker here, they both have the same job, and he is almost 100 pounds more than him? I'm just picking up Hunter Mevis, obviously, for the real reasons is he's on the Rams, so it's a great offense there. He made all of his kicks last week as the starter. They got rid of Josh Carty because Carty was struggling. They bring in Hunter Mevis. who made all of his extra points. He didn't even get an opportunity to kick a field goal. But with this offense, I think they're going to be successful. Seattle's a little bit tougher of a defense than the 49ers are. So I expect Hunter Meeves to be a really good play. And I know he's only available in like every league, literally like every league. Nobody even knows who his name is. Nobody knows who his name is. So I would go and scoop him up. Nobody's talking about him, and I'm a big fan of him.
Yeah, Justin, he's definitely on a great offense that is going to give you across the 50. He looks like the better kicker than Cardi. Cardi was just struggling bad. He was
Okay.
missing kicks like crazy. I mean, yeah. And I love it. I think he's going to be the kicker that you can scoop and, feel good about going forward. I love it, Justin. For me, I'm going to go with Chris Boswell. I love these Steelers this week. I think they're just going to absolutely pour it on. I think a ton of extra points, a ton of field goals there. Boswell's always good at home in Pittsburgh, so I love it. And I think these kickers, I know Boswell is still kind of highly rostered, but Meeves is a guy that you can definitely get. And he won't disappoint because Cardi was put in his positions, Justin, to kick these big time field goals. He just missed them. And so I like Hunter Meeves as the guy going forward.
Yeah, I like your pick too with Chris Boswell. Obviously, he's one of the best kickers in football. And they're going to be in scoring position against a bad Bengals defense all day. So I like that as well. Dween Nation, those are our starts and sits for week 11. Oh my gosh, it's week 11 of the fantasy football season. It is insane that it is already here. But yeah, if you have any questions, any thoughts, any advice you want, or just anything you want from us, we are here to help. The TikToks and Instagrams are booming right now. We got multiple posts every single day. So go and check those out too. That's got more in the details segments because we can get that out there quicker. But thank you guys for listening. We got our rapid fire picks coming up too, so check that out. But thank you guys, and Janoah, send us out.
Yo, Dween Nation, this was our starts and sits of the week for week 11, guys. This has been a fun season. Fun. We love it, guys. And you know what? Let's keep this rolling. I know everybody out here needs a victory, so let's go get it, guys. This is the tough stretch, the kind of tight, tender stretch there on the way to the playoffs, guys. I know some of you guys have week 14, week 15 starts. So, hey, you know what? Let's get this thing going. Let's make the playoffs. Let's make a run. And no better place to go to it than here at Doing Sports here in our Starts at 6. Thank you guys for watching. We love you guys. And as always, peace.
Our show sponsor for Starts and Sits is Aspire Drinks. If you go to aspiredrinks.com, using the code Dween, you can save 15% on all of your orders. I just bought a 27-pack variety edition because there's so many different good flavors. It's green tea power energy drinks, less caffeine, more benefits, the refreshingly unextreme energy. Go and get some today using code Dween, and let's get back to the video.